Celeste and speedrunning are very much alike. They're not about the summit, but rather about the personal journey to reach it. On November 20th, 2024, Secure Account reached the summit of Celeste in 24 minutes and 51 seconds. But what did it take to get there? Beyond the optimized route, beyond the frame-perfect tricks, beyond the impossibly tight execution, what did it really take him to get this world record? I'm Bismuth, and this is the Celeste World Record Speedrun Explained. A couple of years ago, I mentioned that I had been saving up to buy my first house. Since then, I spent 9 months living in Barcelona, where rent was tripled. You would think that tore a hole through my savings, right? Well, you'd be wrong, because I'm now ready to buy that house. How did I do it? Thanks to the power of structured budgeting, and that's exactly what you can do with this video's sponsor, Rocket Money. Budgeting doesn't have to require hours of your time to create and dutifully update a giant spreadsheet. Rocket Money makes it as easy as possible by automating most aspects of keeping a budget with a crazy range of tools to help you out. It does all the basic stuff, like tracking and categorizing income and expenses, tracking spending goals, and so on, but where Rocket Money really shines is with these features. It can consolidate all of your accounts to give you a singular view of your financial situation. It tracks but can also manage your subscriptions. You have them all in one list, and for most of them it can even cancel them for you in just a few taps. It tracks your spending habits and can detect trends to help you stay on track with your savings goals. You can set up alerts and notifications for anything you might need: large transactions, upcoming bills, refunds, low balances. It's all customizable for you to set it up exactly the way you want to use it. And the best part about Rocket Money is that it's free to download. Go to rocketmoney.com/bismuth or scan the QR code. As always, the link is in the description. Thanks to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Before we begin, I need to address something. It was bound to happen someday. This run is no longer the world record. Secure Account beat it 3 weeks ago. He beat it by this much. Less than half a second. Very little changed between the two runs, and I was too far into production to change entirely which run the video was about, so we're going to talk about the 2451.4 and not the 2451.0. This run was the fruit of thousands of attempts. Only including runs from June 2023 up until he got the record, Secure Account clocked in 4,365 attempts. For comparison's sake, I'll be including attempts made after he got the record up until not long before he got the latest world record, for a total of 6,150 runs. As we get further into the run, fewer and fewer attempts will have made it to that point without resetting. During this run, there will be additional information on screen. Tricks will be displayed when they're being used. When a trick is new and will be explained shortly, it will appear in yellow. When Secure Account goes for something and misses, it will appear in gray. Sometimes they'll go by so fast that they're unreadable in real time. That's just the nature of Celeste speedrunning. It's really fast. If you find yourself overwhelmed, I'd suggest lowering the playback speed during the sections where the run is being played back at full speed. As the game begins, Madeline doesn't have any special abilities, only running, jumping, climbing, and jumping off walls. Crucially, without a dash, she actually moves rather slowly. I hope you enjoyed this cozy section, because that was the last time you were able to blink and not miss anything. Despite moving at a normal pace, there are still a couple of tricks being used: bunny hopping and corner boosting. Each time Madeline jumps, she gets a flat increase of 40 speed, which gets reduced by drag during the jump. In this game, speed is measured in pixels per second. Madeline's regular running speed is 90, and jumps increase it to 130. A regular horizontal dash grants her a short burst of 240 speed. We'll see a bit later how high this speedometer can go. And while we're on the topic, Celeste runs at 60 frames per second, so 1 frame is 1/60th of a second. So since each jump gives a short 40 speed boost, the fastest form of movement in the Prologue is repeated hops that are as quick as possible, which is called bunny hopping. The term is a bit broader than that, but we'll see its other application later. And now for corner boosting. Upon colliding with a wall, Madeline doesn't immediately lose all of her speed. It takes 5 frames for her to do so. So if you barely clip the corner of a wall and immediately move off of it, you can retain the horizontal momentum you had prior to hitting the wall. Since Madeline can jump off a wall even when she's up to 3 pixels away from it, you can jump before you collide with the wall, which adds 40 to your horizontal momentum right before it's stored as you hit the wall. Once you clear the corner, that momentum is restored, including the 40 speed boost. You can see the difference here because Secure Account jumped early on this one and missed the corner boost. This is a tiny time saver for now, but as we get further into the run, the ability to retain high momentum while jumping off walls will become much more valuable. Also, some of the corner boosts in the Prologue are unique. Because Madeline is moving a bit slower, with proper positioning, it's possible to corner boost twice in a row on the same corner. So she can jump twice in a row, adding 40 speed twice immediately before colliding with the wall. The first jump can be buffered, meaning that it can be pressed up to 4 frames in advance and the jump will be performed on the first possible frame. The second jump, however, is frame perfect. It must come out immediately after the first jump goes off. This is made possible thanks to Celeste's option to fully customize key bindings, including the ability to bind more than one key to the same action and more than one action to one key. Secure Account is using 3 different buttons to jump, as well as a few buttons that have more than one function at once in order to do them at the same time more easily. Celeste allows you to skip all the cutscenes, so they will be skipped in the run. The ending of the Prologue looks a bit abrupt because the part where Madeline learns to dash counts as a cutscene. Finally, you may have noticed that the timer stops here. This is intended. Celeste speedruns are timed using in-game time, and the in-game timer is very robust and reliable, as well as being integrated directly onto the screen. It only stops between chapters, so it keeps running even if you pause the game, if you die, and during cutscenes. The speedrunning community also has a rule against taking excessively long breaks between levels. Okay, now we're getting into the real stuff. Let's break down the most essential tricks for moving fast in Celeste. We have supers, hypers, and demo hypers, wall bounces, and corner boosts. When Madeline dashes, a few things happen. She winds up the dash for 4 frames, during most of which everything is frozen. The entire game, even including the in-game time, freezes for 3 frames during the windup, leaving only 1 frame where Madeline doesn't move but the world around her does. Then she gains a burst of speed for the duration of the dash. As soon as it ends, she instantly drops to a speed of 160 and drag takes over to lower her speed back to 90. If she jumps before the end of the dash though, she gets a speed of 260 on that jump. This is a super. Now if Madeline does a crouch dash by holding diagonally down while dashing, her jump is specifically coded to give her less height and more horizontal speed. That's a hyper. The dash is slightly slower and shorter than the super because it's diagonal, but the faster jump more than makes up for it. As it turns out though, it's possible to get the best of both worlds, a demo hyper. A demo dash, named after its discoverer, Demo Jameson, used to be a hard trick that abused the fact that a dash's type and direction are set at 2 slightly different times. So you would press down and dash to do a crouch dash, then release down to dash horizontally or even vertically or diagonally. Since then, a crouch dash keybind was added to the game that trivialized that bit of tech. With a demo dash, Madeline can dash horizontally and get a hyper out of it, which is a demo hyper. It's the fastest of the 3, but not necessarily always the best choice. Sometimes the higher jump of the super is useful, and the smaller space a hyper requires can be useful as well. There's one more absolutely essential detail to these moves. Madeline's dashing ability is somewhat limited. After she dashes once, her hair turns blue, and she can't dash again until after she lands, hits a screen transition, or until the dash is refreshed by a dash crystal. If she dashes while she's on the ground, the dash will be refreshed, but not immediately. So if she jumps mid-dash, she won't get a new dash until she lands from that jump. However, a dash takes 15 frames and the refresh happens after 10. This leaves a 5-frame window towards the end of the dash where Madeline can both recharge it and get a super or hyper. We call these extended supers and hypers, and that's the bread and butter of movement in this run. Here you can see secure account dashes, and on the first frame where the dash is refreshing, jumps out of it for an extended super. The super is chosen here for its height, which allows him to corner boost and carry the extra momentum to the next platform. Another extended super, this time so the jump can fully clear the gap and he can reach the top of the screen with a dash upwards and a climb jump. On the next screen, we see the extended demo hyper this time, followed by 2 corner boosts. And now we see the other use for a corner boost. A corner boost is nice because it lets you conserve forward momentum and carry it over a full jump over the wall with a 40 speed boost on top, but it also lets you jump out of a dash to cancel it without having to be on the ground. Remember that at the end of a dash, Madeline instantly returns to 160 speed. This only happens if the dash is fully completed, so jumping out of the dash carries the momentum for way longer. Having to land somewhere during the dash is quite limiting, so the ability to corner boost to cancel a dash instead is huge. This does mean that the dash has to be aimed directly at the corner within roughly a 7-pixel window. Next, Secure Account does another one of the basic tricks in this run, a wall bounce. The first one's hard to see because of the splits, so let's look at it from here. A wall bounce is pretty simple and intuitive. Similar to supers and hypers, jumping out of a dash gives you increased momentum. This time though, the momentum is upwards, the timing window is a bit more lenient, and the jump is off the wall rather than off the ground, but the principle is the same. The later the jump is performed, the more total height you get out of a wall bounce, but too late and you get no extra momentum. So in short, a wall bounce boils down to dashing upwards while close enough to a wall and jumping off with the right timing. We see many wall bounces in these couple of screens, and here a minor mistake. The wall bounce ended up slightly too low and Secure Account missed a landing, forcing him to get up from the wall and costing roughly half a second. This room looks particularly wild. It's an extended hyper followed by 2 corner boosts in quick succession. Madeline gains so much speed here because she retains momentum when jumping from moving objects. The upwards momentum carries her up faster than normal, and the hyper plus 2 corner boosts give her tons of horizontal speed. This is a slightly different dash jump called the reverse extended hyper. Madeline's direction can be reversed between the dash and the jump. So this is an extended hyper because the jump is performed after the dash is refreshed, but the direction is reversed to go to the right after a dash to the left. And here a somewhat rare sight, a non-extended hyper. It doesn't need to be extended because Madeline's dash is refreshed by screen transitions anyway, so it's faster to jump immediately out of it to get the maximum speed and let the transition refresh the dash instead. Here we see the second meaning of bunny hopping. This is only sort of a trick. We've already seen that Madeline experiences friction when moving at high speeds, which gradually brings her down to her normal speed. This deceleration is 4.33 speed per frame in the air, 6.67 on the ground, and 8.33 when crouching on the ground. A bunny hop is therefore a jump that's performed instantly as Madeline touches the ground in order to preserve high momentum. They're not frame perfect per se, but for every frame that a bunny hop is delayed, Madeline loses roughly 2.33 more speed. Celeste has many little secrets and hidden shortcuts like this one. Of course, Secure Account knows in advance where they are, so he makes use of them as much as possible. He's able to reach it in the first place because Madeline's dash is refreshed by screen transitions, so she can effectively dash twice. This type of dash refresh is used constantly throughout the run, so I'll refer to it in the future as a transition dash. Next is the first major instance of one of the flashiest movement tricks in the run, the Ultra. Madeline's dash gives her a base speed of 240 that's unaffected by friction for the duration of the dash. If the dash is diagonal, both the vertical and horizontal components are factored so that the combined vector is 240 speed. The vertical component of Madeline's speed is fixed, but the horizontal component, if there is one, is not fixed. It's set to never slow Madeline down. If her current speed is above the amount she would get from the dash gets that higher horizontal speed instead. Furthermore, a downwards diagonal dash is an exception for 2 reasons. First, it's the only type of dash where Madeline does get to keep the momentum at the end, provided that she's not on the ground. If she collides with the ground mid-dash, it gets converted into a horizontal dash, so she does lose the momentum at the end. The second reason is that there's a special case for when Madeline hits the ground and her last dash was a downwards diagonal one. She receives a multiplier of 1.2 to her current speed. This is why the horizontal speed of a grounded downwards diagonal dash is 203 and not 169. But more importantly, that 1.2 multiplier applies even if the dash is already complete. So, a high velocity downwards diagonal dash that gains a 1.2 speed multiplier, that's an ultra. So here, Secure Account does an extended hyper off the ledge and follows it up with an ultra. Upon landing, Madeline gets a 1.2 multiplier to her speed and instantly bunny hops for an additional 40, netting her roughly 400 speed. Ultras lead to some of the craziest looking movement in the run. Here we see an instance of a dash commonly called a grounded ultra. It's an ultra, so it's a high-speed down diagonal dash that receives a multiplier of 1.2 when landing. But because that happens during the dash, it turns into a regular horizontal dash. This means the momentum ends with the dash unless you jump out of it. That jump is exactly the same as a hyper, including Madeline's speed being put at 325. Since they usually become hypers, grounded ultras don't have the ability to balloon Madeline's speed like an ultra does, but they do provide short bursts of around 390 speed. Here, unfortunately, Secure Account's wall jump came up just short of landing on this platform, costing a little over 1 second. Just before the end of the chapter was a neutral jump. Madeline has limited stamina to climb up walls. Wall jumps like these with either opposite or neutral directional inputs don't drain her stamina, but climbing and jumping straight up a wall do drain it. As it turns out, a neutral jump off a wall has just the right amount of speed that it's possible by moving right back up against it to end up back on the wall higher than before, despite it costing no stamina to do. Theoretically, it's possible to gain infinite height this way, although it is very slow. Here, Secure Account only needs one of these neutral jumps to extend Madeline's climbing just a tiny bit beyond what she's normally capable to make this shortcut up the room possible. And with that, Chapter 1 is done. Here's a graph of all of Secure Account's attempts and their pace over the course of the run. The higher a run is, the faster it is. In yellow is the world record at the time, and in red, this run. At this point, this run is just one of hundreds. In fact, it's actually kind of mediocre. 852nd out of 1,444. That being said, the difference between mediocre and incredible at this point of the run is about 2 seconds. This run is just fine as Secure Account enters Chapter 2, Old Site. You may have noticed that Madeline doesn't always jump from solid ground. It's particularly obvious here. This is a leniency mechanic called Coyote Time. After she leaves the ground, Madeline is still able to jump for 5 extra frames. Note that Coyote Time can't be used to make an extended super or hyper possible where it wouldn't be otherwise, as the dash refresh only happens if Madeline is actually on the ground. Here, Secure Account dashes up left as the cutscene is triggered, and Madeline returns from the cutscene directly inside of the dream block. If a cutscene moves Madeline, she's usually moved horizontally to a set point, then down until she's on the floor. However, for some cutscenes like this one, she's only moved horizontally. That's why she ends up in the dream block. By the way, what do dream blocks do, you ask? Simple, Madeline can enter them by dashing into them, and she keeps that trajectory all the way through the block until she comes out on the other side, which also refreshes her dash in the process. If the other side is blocked though, she dies. The most common trick with dream blocks is called a dream double jump. You can jump when coming out of a dream block to get some extra height and 40 speed. But by doing 2 jumps, one just before coming out and one immediately as Madeline pops out of the block, she gains an additional 40 speed. This is used several times in the run to shave a few frames and to help with positioning for other movement tricks. Also, a small detail about dream blocks. While inside of them, Madeline can't exceed the regular dash speed, so even if she enters one with a crazy amount of speed, it doesn't do anything. And since entering a dream block refreshes Madeline's dash, it's often beneficial to just barely enter the corner of a block to get a dash reset. Sometimes it happens so fast it doesn't even look like she enters it. After this cutscene, what's supposed to play out is an intense chase sequence where Madeline's alter ego, summons ghosts that copy the player's movement. The first one is in 1.5 seconds of delay and the subsequent ones about half a second each, forcing the player to keep moving to avoid getting caught. Let's see just how much of a mockery Secure Count makes of that. This is a corner kick, a wall jump that's done while moving upwards and away from the bottom corner of a wall. When Madeline enters the 3-pixel leniency area near a wall, she can jump off of it regardless of the direction she's going. If you turn around to face the wall, you can get a jump that's similar in effect to a corner boost, so it's called a reverse corner boost. While corner kicks give Madeline a flat horizontal speed of 130, reverse corner boosts preserve Madeline's current speed and only add to it. This can be helpful at both high speeds and low speeds. Secure Count attempted to do a demo hyper here. You can start a super or demo hyper in midair if your height is aligned with the floor next to you within a range of 7 pixels. Here, however, he was slightly too low and hit the wall instead, costing about 0.7 seconds. This was supposed to be an ultra, but Secure Count accidentally jumped and dashed on the same frame, cancelling the dash. That resulted in him also landing in an awkward spot and causing even more time loss. Overall, this cost him roughly 1.5 seconds. After the skippable part of the cutscene, Madeline takes a few seconds to wake up and give control back to the player. When you return to the game from the menu, however, you gain control immediately, making it faster to return to the menu and back to the game. This part looks insane, but in reality, that's an understatement. Let's break down in detail everything that goes behind this 11-second section. First, Secure Count does a triple dash into an instant hyper. This is not so bad because the inputs can be buffered. The hardest part is to delay the jump just long enough to allow the third dash to go through. This screen starts with a buffered bunny hop. I mentioned earlier that buffering a jump means that it can be pressed up to 4 frames in advance. In fact, every action can be buffered this way. So anytime you wish to perform an action on the first possible frame it can be done, you can press it within a 5-frame window, 4 frames in advance, 3, 2, 1 frame, or exactly on the frame the action can be taken. This buffered bunny hop, however, is slightly different. When you're not falling too fast, under 40 speed, holding jump will give Madeline half gravity. This is great to extend jumps, but not good if you want to land as early as possible. In this case, holding jump too early would cause Madeline to land later and ultimately disrupt the strategy. This bunny hop only has a 3-frame window because of that. This dash has a 3-frame window, but the first 2 frames are optimal. Secure Count got the 2nd frame, so he will have an easier time with the next trick. The 2 jumps here can be buffered. Next up is what's called a delayed ultra. Thanks to getting the 2nd frame on the previous one, this dash is a 2-frame window. Meanwhile, the corner boost can be buffered. Madeline gets the 1.2 speed multiplier upon landing from the corner boost. Remember that the game checks when Madeline lands if her last dash was a down diagonal one. As this is true here, she gets the multiplier from this dash. The jump has to be as short as possible so that Madeline lands before the screen transition and not after, in order to maximize the speed gained by the 1.2 multiplier. In the next room, this jump is a 3-frame window and secure count hits the first frame. A buffered corner boost into a 2-frame window for the next ultra. This one after the buffered bunny hop technically has a big window, but hitting it as early as possible is optimal and secure count gets it on the first frame. For this part, secure count crouches intentionally, which sheds a little bit of speed in order to make the next section spacing work out. The jump has to be released at the right time as well so that Madeline lands right on top. Similarly, the bunny hop is only a 3-frame buffer in order to avoid having half gravity. Another precise ultra leads Madeline into the next room at about 580 speed. For the rest of the section, her speed will oscillate between about 560 and 700. This corner boost is an intentional bad one. As the jump is buffered before hitting the wall, it will automatically come out on the first possible frame, which is usually in the 3 pixel leniency area before hitting the wall. This allows her to gain 40 speed immediately before it's stored by the wall collision. But when Madeline is moving fast enough, there can sometimes be no moment where that is possible. A bad corner boost is when the collision with the wall happens before the jump goes off, preventing her from gaining 40 speed from the jump. This is usually bad, but in this case, it's instrumental to the spacing of this room. Also, because it's so close to the previous jump, the window for this corner boost is only 3 frames. This dash has to be correctly timed, as hitting it too late will cause you to bonk the ceiling there. Upon landing, it can't be a buffered bunny hop, as the jump needs to come out a little bit later to make the next room work. Jumping right on this frame is exactly what secure count was aiming for. Delaying the jump allows him to land right on top of this, and a bunny hop leads into another crucial ultra. Hitting this dash too early would be catastrophic, as touching the ground here would turn the dash into a horizontal one and kill all the momentum. The next jump has to be short, but not too short. A 1-frame jump wouldn't make it, and Madeline needs to land before the transition so that the jump can be buffered after it. This buffered full jump lines up perfectly with the corner, and right as Madeline hits the corner, secure count releases right for a neutral climb jump. This drops just enough speed to make the rest of the room possible. A dash 2 frames later carries Madeline all the way to here, and another buffered dash, this time upright. This is highly unusual, as it would stop all of her momentum at the end of the dash, but thankfully it's cancelled by a corner boost before that happens. The room transition resets the dash, and a final upwards diagonal dash, which this time doesn't matter because it leads directly into the cutscene to end the chapter. So this is what goes into that 11-second sequence. Every single dash, jump, directional input, and button release, everything has to be precise within single-digit hundredths of a second. And it goes by so fast, it's all over in the blink of an eye. Now imagine this level of depth and detail, but for the entirety of the run. I obviously can't go into as much detail for everything, but it really is that advanced almost everywhere. That's the level at which secure count operates for 25 minutes straight. At this point, secure count's pace is looking better. His old sight was better than average, and he's headed into chapter 3 with his 322nd best run to this point. Less than 1,000 runs have made it to this point, so simply being on a decent pace at all is already good. Secure count demonstrates pretty well here that the fastest form of movement across flat ground is chaining grounded ultras. And here's a great example of a transition dash to reach this high ledge without going around. This part is best viewed a bit slowed down. Again, when the geometry allows it, ultras are the fastest way to traverse a long room. This diagonal dash is crucial. It starts from the cutscene. Even though you can skip them, most cutscenes actually have a key mechanic at play. If you don't skip it in the first 2 frames, the cutscene takes away all of Madeline's precious speed at nearly 60 speed per frame from a high speed. Secure Account needs to cancel it within that 2-frame window for this strategy to work. Then the diagonal dash and the up dash are both 2-frame windows as well. You can also see Secure Account using the demo dash for the crouched hitbox while dashing. Here to get under this ceiling, and here to sneak past the dust bunny before it gets him. This room unfortunately goes awry, all because of one jump that was a frame early. Madeline bumps into the ceiling, so she goes way lower than intended and Secure Account has to climb jump to get up. He has to land to get his dash back. The deviation from his strategy caused him to dash a bit too low here and not only miss the platform but land awkwardly on the wall to lose even more time. Overall, this room lost him 2 whole seconds. Here, bunny hopping while crouched allows Madeline to squeeze under the ceiling without hitting it. There are dozens of instances where Secure Account uses the crouched hitbox to fit in tight spaces, so I won't point out all of them, but you get the idea. This is the mess hub. It's one of the hardest rooms in the chapter because it's so densely packed. There are loads of little movement tricks everywhere with little normalization. Normalization is when you can set up Madeline's position in a way that's consistent every time, usually by pushing up against a wall before or during a dash. Normalizing her position means that the same inputs will behave exactly the same way every time from that point. If her position is not normalized, small deviations in exactly how you play the room up to this point will change her position a little bit, and a dash may work sometimes but not other times. All this to say, this room is packed full of movement tech and micro adjustments, and making one mistake can often cause a cascade of bonks where you lose your groove in several seconds. Secure Account did make a mistake here because he dashed too early after jumping and hit the ground, but he recovered instantly and only lost half a second from it. This dash looks like a suboptimal choice, but it's on purpose. The first part of this room is on a cycle because of this dust bunny, so you just need to be there when it gets out of the way. This is an interesting reverse corner boost. Remember that Madeline can jump off a wall when she enters the 3-pixel wall kick region, even if she's already moving away from it. Spikes will kill Madeline if she moves into them, but they actually can't hurt her if she's moving away. So while normally you wouldn't be able to wall kick on a spiked wall without moving into the spikes, you can do a corner kick or a reverse corner boost because at no point are you not moving away from the spikes. Note that you need to be moving away from the spikes by some amount. Being fully perpendicular will not work. This is coupled with a transition dash so that Madeline still has her dash to go all the way up, and it skips that room entirely. I actually don't really have much to add here, but I figured you needed a bit of breathing room. Again, there are many instances of 1 or 2 frame windows, like that dash to be able to wall bounce, but there are too many to point out individually. This dust bunny looks like it should kill Madeline, but she actually can squeeze through. Dust bunnies are circles with a smaller hitbox than their visual. Whenever two dust bunnies are close together, they will visually merge, but their hitboxes stay the same regardless. This is why it looks weird that Madeline can dash through. There actually is a small space, and with a demo dash, Madeline can fit in there while she's crouched. We're about to see this even better. This is the elevator shaft skip. This demo dash through dust bunnies skips a whole subsection of the chapter. Just like before, Madeline fits in the gap between dust bunnies, but this time you can actually see it. In the fade in after the cutscene, the gaps between dust bunnies are not filled in, so you can clearly see their real shape. Keep in mind that their actual hitbox is even smaller, and that's how it becomes possible to dash through unharmed. That doesn't mean it's easy though. SnaccHBG uses a position setup where he does an extended demo hyper into the corner and 1 frame later climb jumps on the wall. This sets up his vertical position nicely to dash through in a wide 4-frame window. However, that window gets worse for every frame that your climb jump is late by. 1 frame and it's down to a couple of 3-frame windows, another frame late and the dash is frame perfect. Done right though, this is one of the biggest skips in the entire run, saving around 12 seconds. By now, you should be used to these. What I actually want to talk about here is this part. You're meant to dash diagonally up left, but it's faster to use horizontal dashes. Getting across in only 3 horizontal dashes, however, is no simple task. To do it, SnaccHBG abuses the half gravity you get from holding jump at low falling speeds. Each dash is timed just right to get the maximum benefit from the half gravity, allow him to barely clear the dust bunnies and make his way across safely. For the rest of the chapter, Mr. Oshiro chases Madeline. That is to say, he would if SnaccHBG didn't make it across the screen before he could attack every single time. This sort of beam doesn't hurt you, it only signals where Mr. Oshiro is about to cross the screen. You'll see that he does get to attack a few times, but he's generally a non-factor. Stomping on his head refreshes Madeline's dash though, so that gets used once. Here, Madeline actually stomps on Mr. Oshiro during the windup of the dash, so she refreshes her dash instantly as she uses it, letting her effectively dash twice in a row. Celestial Resort went rather amazingly. This was one of SnaccHBG's best Chapter 3 in a run, and it bumped the run up to 40th best to this point. He's only 4.5 seconds out from his best pace ever after Chapter 3. As we get into the later chapters, I'm no longer going to show every single little movement trick. By now, you probably understand that this run features a lot of supers, hypers, demo hypers, corner boosts, wall bounces, and so on. For the rest of the run, I'll focus on pointing out particularly interesting or precise tricks and time losses. Chapter 4 has several new mechanics: clouds, green bubbles, moving blocks, and wind. Clouds are bouncy platforms, but to get the maximum bounce, you need to wait for them to bounce back up. They're also pretty narrow, so you'll see SnaccHBG using reverse extended supers and hypers from time to time. Finally, pink clouds disappear after jumping off of them once, but that's never going to be a problem. Green bubbles are basically a free dash. When she enters them, Madeline will do the equivalent of a dash while also refreshing her actual dash. They normally have a 16-frame delay before they go off, but you can precipitate them by pressing dash after entering them. Moving blocks can be activated then steered. Most of them will be skipped, but some of them will provide Madeline with a nice speed boost from jumping off of them. Finally, wind blows Madeline to one side, most often slowing her down. It blows one way or another based on the room you're in, which pushes Madeline by the equivalent of 40 speed in that direction. Strong wind adds 80 instead. So if you're walking against strong wind, you'll be basically stationary, moving at just 10 pixels per second. Wind also doesn't impact Madeline during a dash. The direction and speed of the wind is predetermined on a per room basis, so thankfully there's no randomness or global timer involved. Some rooms wind is on a timer, but it's generally a non-factor as the timer starts upon entering that room. Sometimes the wind is even vertical. All this to say, wind is not as much a hindrance as it would seem like, thanks to its consistency and its overall little impact when moving at hundreds of speed. Secure Account lost a bit of time here because he missed a trick called water boosting. When in water, Madeline can jump on every single frame and gain 40 speed with each jump. You can get a ton of speed very quickly that way, provided that you can slam your face against your 20 jump keys fast enough. Despite pressing all 3 of his jump keys in quick succession, Secure Account didn't get as much speed as he wanted, so he resorted to a backup strategy for this part that was 0.2 seconds slower. Here were 2 more small mistakes. The first came from accidentally dashing upright too early on the second bubble instead of on the third, losing about 0.4 seconds. On the next screen, this missed wall bounce cost him a second and a half. This demo dash is crucial because Madeline is crouched. Being crouched upon activating a green bubble sets Madeline 2 pixels higher than she would be otherwise, and it's the tiny bit of extra height she needs to be able to reach all the way up here with a single up-left dash. Here, Secure Account makes sure to hold left to avoid dying to the spikes while wall bouncing off of them. He touches the spikes on the frame after the dash ends, at which point he's able to move away from them and avoid death. Here, he very narrowly avoids the spikes, but thankfully, Celeste has very generous hitboxes so that it never feels unfair. In fact, Secure Account was never in any real danger because this entire part is fully buffered. In this room, you're meant to slowly ride this block all the way across, but with a precise grounded ultra from just the right spot, Secure Account manages to just catch the corner of the wall and skip that whole section. Here you're meant to go above and drop down, but of course going under is faster. Missing that green bubble looks like a mistake, but it's actually faster to hyper above it than to use it. Again, in that room you're supposed to slowly ride a block across, but Secure Account zooms through insanely fast with an ultra, a crouched bunny hop, and a tight corner boost between the spikes. This room has a few odd mechanics going on. Secure Account does a jump off the block, immediately followed by a downright dash. The way he does this is by pressing both jump and dash at the same time, right before the end of the green bubble, just a couple of frames before Madeline is able to dash again. So because she can't dash yet, she only jumps off the wall. 2 frames later, she's now able to dash, so the dash goes off. Now a wall bounce lasts 15 frames as long as she holds jump. A dash effectively lasts 12 frames, so by the time it ends, the wall bounce is still active for another frame. That's why she gains height after her dash and it looks like she sort of bounces in midair. She also receives a speed boost from the block twice, once when she jumps and again when she dashes. That combination is enough to cross the gap. Right after that, however, SnaccHBG gets a bad landing and ends up doing a hyper in an awkward spot. This cascades into the next room where he misses the ground, which causes the snowball to be too low and he dashes over it instead of bouncing on it. That mistake cost him just under 2 seconds. And with that, Chapter 4 is complete. SnaccHBG played this better than average and his standing went up to 33rd out of 436 runs. At this point, this is definitely the kind of run he doesn't get every day. But it only gets harder from here. The Mirror Temple is a rather dark chapter, but that doesn't really bother SnaccHBG as he has every single room in the run memorized. Once again, there are some new mechanics at play. Let's talk about swap blocks, red bubbles, and dash switches. Swap blocks start in their resting position and quickly move to the other side of their track when Madeline dashes. Then they slowly return to the resting position. Their high momentum can give Madeline large boosts. Red bubbles are basically like green bubbles, except they go on until you hit a wall or dash out of them. They're really useful for crossing large gaps quickly. The last one is really complicated. Dash switches are switches that you dash into to press. Bubbles count as a dash, so they also work, as well as a couple of other things we'll see in a bit. Switches usually open doors that you need to progress. In this chapter, SnaccHBG will deviate from the main path. Let's see how and why. Because this cutscene only moves Madeline to a set point horizontally, SnaccHBG is able to end up on the switch after the cutscene by dashing up while triggering it. In this room, the massive momentum boost from swap blocks is made obvious. SnaccHBG dashes a couple of seconds before reaching the block, then waits for it to start to recede so he can dash and use its momentum to launch himself across the room at over 600 speed. This is where SnaccHBG deviates from the normal path. He picks up a cassette, which unlocks the chapter's B-side. In Celeste, each chapter has a B-side that's significantly harder than its A-side counterpart. If you beat it though, it counts as beating the chapter. You need to find the hidden cassette to unlock the B-side, so you need a combination of a B-side way shorter than the A-side and a cassette that's quick to grab so that it still comes out faster than simply playing the A-side. This is only the case in chapters 5 and 6, and no other chapter really comes close. There are other categories that mandate you to only play A-sides or only B-sides, but any percent lets you choose whichever is faster. The room where the cassette can be found has these timed blocks which switch on music cues. Since the music changes when you enter the room, they're always on a cycle from the moment you enter that room. However, when I said that everything freezes for 3 frames when Madeline dashes, I lied. The music doesn't, and therefore neither does the block cycle. So Security Count dashes as much as possible in this room because each dash saves 0.05 seconds while leaving the block cycle unchanged. If you're a real-time purist who's bothered by this, consider that this and 2 instances of going to the menu to skip wake-up animations are the only in-game time manipulations in the entire run, and they combine to save less than a second. Okay, what was that? That was a pause buffered multi-boost. Pause buffering is pausing the game repeatedly to advance 1 frame at a time in order to buffer frame-perfect inputs. Celeste makes it relatively easy to pause buffer because the pause itself can be buffered and the game will advance by 1 frame. Security Count pause buffers this trick because it happens in several frame-perfect steps. Let's break it down frame by frame. On this frame, he needs to let go of the wall by releasing grab. This gives him 1 boost from the moving block and it starts a 9-frame timer. That timer is a leniency feature. If Madeline was on a moving platform in the last 9 frames, any jump or dash she does still gives her the extra momentum even if it's no longer moving or if she's no longer on it. Immediately after releasing grab, Security Count does a climb jump, which moves slightly away from the wall and gives him another boost. On the next frame, Madeline is still close enough to be in the wall jump leniency area so she can climb jump a second time for a 3rd boost. Then Security Count demo dashes on the next frame for a 4th boost and buffers left and climb jump to do a reverse corner boost on this wall, which gives him a 5th and final momentum boost. So Madeline launches with way more speed than intended. All of that needs to be done frame perfectly, and when done right, Security Count can corner boost here and there. This one is the most crucial one because Madeline is moving downwards. When moving upwards, corner boosts are easier because you can jump off a wall in a 3-pixel leeway area. When moving downwards, however, grabbing the wall has priority over jumping. So you need to be able to jump, but not to grab the wall. As it turns out, grabbing the wall has a 2-pixel area, leaving just 1 pixel where you can do a corner boost. This is why all of those inputs are frame perfect. The setup only works if you do it exactly like that. This is the most valuable skip in the run. It bypasses a huge section where you need to go grab a key, then take this really long red bubble all the way across for a total time save of around 40 seconds. In fact, that skip is mostly why the B-side is faster than the A-side in Chapter 5. Getting its second try did cost Security Count 6 seconds though. In this case, doing the next fastest option first try would have been slightly faster. In this room, Security Count skips some blocks with a tight wall bounce on a spiked wall. Again, it's done by dashing in just the right spot to be able to move away from the spikes in order to just barely reach the block above. Here, you're supposed to press the switch and go into the other room to bring a bubble back, but with a reverse super, he's able to cross this with just a jump and a dash, saving another 8.5 seconds. Here, Madeline doesn't die to the spikes for 2 reasons. On this frame, her hitbox overlaps with the spikes, and although she's still moving upwards, she wouldn't die even if she didn't. This is because the check for the spike's hitbox is done before the block moves. At that point, the block is still here, so their hitboxes don't overlap. On the next frame, Madeline no longer touches the spikes. If done well, this series of corner boosts is a tiny bit faster than taking the bubble diagonally up left. We're now entering the second section of Chapter 5, where Madeline has to carry a crystallized Theo while fending off Seekers, fish-like enemies that charge at her when they see her. They have interesting mechanics which Security Count will use to his advantage. Like near the end of Chapter 2, it saves in-game time to skip the waking up animation by leaving and coming back. These tentacle-looking things are spikes but funky. They have the same tiny hitbox, again for leniency purposes. It looks rather crazy here, but Madeline's hitbox is indeed not touching the spike's hitbox. Celeste is not the first game to do that either. Like Mr. Oshiro, Seekers refresh Madeline's dash when she stumps on them, but their particularity is that when they come out of their stun, they knock Madeline back, which also refreshes her dash. Secure Account uses that to get across quicker, although this is not his intended method. He's doing it as a backup because of this mistake. Because he pressed left a frame too late, he did a climb jump instead of a jump to the left, so he hit the ceiling, it threw off the rest of the room, and although he managed by improvising, he lost about 3.5 seconds. In the next room, that is his intended strategy, and it serves him quite well there. With the demo dash, Madeline crouches, which allows her to get under this pillar. Although she looks like she uncrouches, her hitbox is actually still crouched, and that lets her reach all the way across the room. With Theo to carry around now, Madeline runs slower and she can't dash. She can do a regular jump off of walls, but can't hold onto them, climb, or do climb jumps. Keep that in mind, because Secure Account will make sure you forget these restrictions. Meanwhile, Theo can't fall off the level, but he's impervious to Seekers and Spikes and can be used to press switches. As you can see, Secure Account's general strategy is to do a hyper next to Theo and pick him up to carry him with the hyper's momentum. But Theo also enables a special kind of ultra, the Theo Ultra. Remember that grounded ultras, although they give you upwards of 390 speed during the dash itself, force you to either jump, which turns into a hyper with 325 speed, or let the dash complete and kill the speed entirely. Picking up Theo cancels the dash early and lets you keep your speed. Here we see a small mistake where Secure Account pressed grab too late and didn't pick up Theo. That cost him a bit over a second and a half. In the next room, Seekers can actually be used to press switches, which doesn't go unused to save a precious fraction of a second. It's not always easy to see at full speed, but Secure Account does throw Theo before he dashes every time. He juggles the crystals so quickly that it doesn't even look like it hinders him at all. And that concludes Chapter 5's B-side, and therefore Chapter 5 itself. This wasn't Secure Account's best chapter. He fell to 50th best pace, mostly because of this death. His fastest run to this point is 12 seconds faster than this one. But all of that could change in Chapter 6, Reflection. Reflection brings its own set of new mechanics. Golden feathers turn Madeline into a steerable comet for a short duration. You can chain several of them to refresh the timer. They are trickier to maneuver using a keyboard than with a controller, but that doesn't stop Secure Account at all. Feathers in a bubble need to be dashed into to activate them. Kevin is an angry block. When Madeline dashes into one of its sides, it charges in that direction until it hits something. Again, fast-moving blocks mean momentum transfer and multi-boosts. Bumpers are like pinball bumpers. Madeline bounces outwards from them, and they refresh her dash. Finally, our friend Badlin will make a comeback in this chapter. In this cutscene, Madeline has a clash with Badlin and gets thrown down the mountain into a lake. So at the end of it, she's in a completely different location. In the first room, you're supposed to go up on Kevin, but this wallbound skips that. And here, Secure Account does a neat little shortcut with the reverse demo hyper. That bunk on the ceiling was caused by accidentally dashing up left instead of straight up, and it lost a bit under a second. Here, Secure Account gets a multi-boost from the block by jumping, then quickly dashing while the 9-frame timer is still active. He follows it up with 2 ultras and a corner boost to absolutely crush that cassette room. Like I mentioned in the previous chapter, Reflection is the only other chapter where the B side is faster than the A side in full game 80% runs. This section is pretty straightforward, but it involves a lot more falling than usual. The receding tentacles are a non-factor. Secure Account makes use of fast falling by holding down as well as water boosts when possible. There is one small mistake here where he normally does a grounded ultra to make it across. He instead has to resort to an upright dash which loses a quarter of a second. This dash works the same as dashing between dust bunnies in Chapter 3. Although they visually meet, the bits of crystal actually have a gap between them, and a demo dash barely squeezes through. It's actually a bit wider this time, which makes it a 2-frame window without the need for any particular position setup. Also, this section features quite a bit of water boosting and ultras to reach really high speeds. And now we meet Madeline, but as a boss this time. You need to hit her so she flees to the next spot. Like the others, doing so will refresh Madeline's dash and knock her away, so Secure Account makes sure to use those knockbacks to navigate the rooms. She's significantly harder on the B side than on the A side. She attacks with laser beams and fireballs, but Secure Account is so fast that she rarely gets to fire anything remotely threatening. Here, that Ultra is key to the strategy in this room. Slower strategies would contend with much harder lasers to dodge. These two fireballs do force SnaccHBG to take some measures to avoid them, as he slows down for this one and dodges that one with a high wall bounce. This is another pause buffered multi-boost. This time, however, Madeline only inherits the block's momentum twice. Once by jumping off the wall, and another with a left-facing climb jump on the corner of the wall immediately after. This one is another double boost, this time with a jump and a dash on the next frame. Thankfully, simply pressing dash and jump will jump first and then dash. That insane speed is made even crazier by the Ultra. This is one of the longest single rooms in the game. Keeping the right pace is essential so that all of Madeline's attacks line up at times when it's easy to dodge them. One small mistake can easily derail the whole thing, leading to several seconds of time loss or even a death. And that's Chapter 6. On the A side, Madeline convinces Madeline to join forces with her and she gains a second dash for the next chapter. Even though there's no such cutscene on the B side, she does gain the second dash nonetheless. So how did SnaccHBG do? Well, that was his second fastest Chapter 6 in a run, and definitely his best on a run remotely close to this pace. Every split save for one was close to his best ever. He reduced the gap with his best pace ever from over 12 to under 3.5 seconds. He knew this could very well be a new world record if he got a good Chapter 7. The final and longest chapter is the Summit. It's split into 7 sections that bring back elements from each previous chapter in order. Madeline helps out by launching Madeline upwards at the end of each section. At this point, there's not much new stuff happening here. It's all pure execution for the next 7.5 minutes. SnaccHBG needs to hold on to his 5-second lead over the world record. Right off the bat, he shoots into second place and widens his lead. This split went even better than the last. He inches to less than 2 seconds out from his best pace ever, and his lead over the world record is now almost 7 seconds. That run was nearly 2,000 attempts ago. SnaccHBG is more than ready to take it down. In the old side section, Secure Account dream double jumps more often than not, and often barely clips the corner of dream blocks to reset his dash. After 2 very clean sections, he did make a couple of mistakes this time. Here he meant to get a wall bounce on this wall. That was very minor and cost him about 1/10 of a second. Right here though, he intended to buffer a dash but missed, and that cost 0.7 seconds. Nonetheless, his pace kept steady. 2 seconds out from his best ever to this point, and just under 7 seconds ahead of the world record. At this point, demo dashes between dust bunnies are old news, but that doesn't make them any easier. With the right setup, the first one has a 3-frame window, and the second has 1 to 3 frames depending on which of the 3 frames you hit on the first one. In this room, Secure Account meant to do an extended hyper, but he left the ground too early and didn't get a dash refresh. This caused him to fall short and lose 0.7 seconds. In this room, he tried to dash too late and died to the dust bunnies. Thankfully, that was a really quick death that only cost a bit over 2 seconds. While the run fell to 3rd place, he was now only 1 second away from his best pace ever. Secure Account skips this room with a wall bounce, a double dash, and another wall bounce. He skips a block in that room with precise corner boosts and a corner kick. Entering 2,500 meters, he's now virtually tied with his fastest run ever to this point. Finally, Secure Account is fully into uncharted territory. This is the best run he's ever had by over 1.5 seconds. He's ahead of the world record by 6 seconds. Only one section remains, but it's the longest and hardest. 3,000 meters consists of 30 challenges, each marked with numbered flags that act as checkpoints. If he can manage to stay laser focused for another 2.5 minutes, Secure Account will set a new world record. Here, Secure Account was going for an extended super, but he didn't get his dash back, so he couldn't reach up and had to redo it, losing 1.3 seconds. Back at flag 14, he messed up the movement a bit and climbed too high, wasting about 1/3 of a second. This demo dash looks ridiculous, but it's actually the most lenient. It's a 6-frame window on this dash and a 6 to 8 frame window on the demo dash to go through. This summit has been incredible so far. At this point in time, no one else in the world has ever done a summit this fast. He's within 2 seconds of his own individual level world record. Just one more flag to go. That was a crushing death. He didn't get the dash refresh he needed. Secure Account just lost 5 seconds, right on the doorstep of victory. But he's not deterred. His summit had been so good, so clean up to this point, that it doesn't even matter. He's done it. 2451.495. He climbed the mountain. He's on top of the world. This speedrun is the fruit of not just thousands of hours of practice, hard work, and dedication. Not just thousands upon thousands of failures, but the cumulative effort of an entire community. It's the culmination of years of work to push the limits of what's possible. But unlike Celeste, in speedrunning, the mountain never stops. You can always climb higher. Secure Account did by beating his own record this month. And he's not done climbing. There are new heights to be conquered.